Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and do a quick introduction of Warren. I've known Warren for a long, long time. He's a fantastic vendor of NetFeed Pros, and we've used his hardware and services. He stands behind his hardware with his services are fantastic. Uh, and any job, any size, no job is too big and no job is too small for Warren. So I really appreciate Warren being one of our partners. So from there, here you go, Warren. Take it from there.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Paul. Let's see. So, should be able to see my screen now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for spending the afternoon with us. Really appreciate the opportunity here. So I want to talk to you today about Nfina Technologies, where we build servers and HyperEdge computing, hyperconverged storage solutions, PC solutions here in Mobile, Alabama, the real LA, Roll Tide Roll. And we have the lowest total cost of ownership in the industry. I know that's a bold statement to say, but with our 5-year warranty, I'll show you some curves that tend to indicate that. 24/7 tech support, like Paul said. When you call in, we support everything we sell. So if I sell Windows or VMware or Red Hat Linux or Citrix Zen Server, we support it, all the hardware and software. So, and there's no additional charge for that. There is additional charge if you want, rapid response, on the nights and weekends, but normal 9 to 5 type. So here's some of our customers. You see Duke Energy, Department of Energy, Dominion, Exelon, TVA, Pacific Gas and Electric. We have #1 market share in the U.S. in the nuclear power physical security market. So we pretty much own that space with our partner Ares Security, and we have #1 market share in the physical security market for port security around the U.S. So primarily because of our fantastic cybersecurity story. A little bit, just an overview, quick overview of our products. We're going to talk a lot about the Edge today and our HyperEdge solution, hybrid cloud solution. But all of our Edge products, as well as our SAN and NAS storage, they all have built-in backup and snapshot capability. It's built right in. So you don't need any additional backup to back up the data. The whole SAN, the whole storage, all the storage in both our SANs and hyperconverged solutions are backed up with these snapshots. Our Edge Point, which includes 48 gig of RAM, 2 terabyte and a 4-way mirror, 4 cores, a couple of copies of Windows, that retails for about $4,500, and we can lease that solution for about $82 a month. HyperEdge, so I'm going complete fault tolerant now. 48 gig in each machine, 4 core in each machine, 2 terabyte and a 4-way mirror with built-in snapshotting. It'd be $8,700 or $158 a month. So if you compare this to the entry-level Nutanix or scale computing, we're about half that price because we can build a 2-node solution. And I'll go into that. But we don't have, one of the reasons we have the cybersecurity for the ports in the U.S. and the nuclear power is because we don't have any adware, spyware, bloatware built into any of our products. A little bit about my background. I started my career at RCA back in the early 80s. We worked on HDTV. And then I transitioned and became executive director of product development at QMS. We had the first TCP/IP laser printers on the market. We're about 2 years ahead of HP. I'd also like to mention I'm the first MSEE graduate from the University of South Alabama. I was the only one who set up an endowed chair in engineering to date, and I'm the first one to set up both undergraduate and graduate scholarships at South Alabama, as well as undergraduate and graduate scholarships in the School of Computing for computer science at the University of South Alabama. In 95, so I worked at QMS for 10 years. I left in 95. I was Chief Technology Officer at RTP Corp. We had the first fully redundant PLC that was Ethernet based on the market. We're about 2 years ahead of Siemens and about a year ahead of Rockwell Automation with that product. I sold my stock at RTP when the IEEE ratified the 1 gigabit Ethernet standard in 99, and I founded Intron. One thing I noticed that the market did not have a hardened industrial Ethernet switch. So I formed Intron in 99, and one of our big customers was GE. GE used us in all of their gas turbines and wind turbines all over the world. You guys may or may not remember GE Cisco. GE Cisco was a collaboration in around the year 2000 where GE and Cisco were going to go after the industrial Ethernet market with their GE's Modicon PLC, Fennec PLC. And Cisco didn't have a hardened switch, so I was actually the switch being used on the GE Cisco collaboration. I sold that company in 2010. At the end of 2010, I took 2011 off, and then I found my wife had me on all of her prayer request cards, get him out of the house. He's driving me crazy. So I founded Nfina in 2012, and we're building now the most cyber secure servers and storage on the planet. So if I look at our servers, we build the 1U, 2U racks and towers. We sell hyperconverged solutions in both the 1U, 2U tower footprint. We do SAN storage, both scale up and scale out, and NAS storage. And with our snapshotting, we have built-in backup and DR. So some of our key technology partners, we do OpenE storage, Intel, we're a gold partner. All of our servers and storage are VMware and Microsoft certified, as well as Red Hat certified. And the list just goes on and on and on. You know, I've just listed some of the top ones that we do a lot of business with. So from a Gartner-centric standpoint, using their definitions, our Edge and our SAN products, we do scale-up storage clustering. So that would be cluster-to-cluster replication as well as compute and storage to compute and storage replication. We also support and have many installations using hyperconverged scale-out storage clustering. So the examples of those would be vSAN under VMware and or Storage Spaces Direct under Microsoft Windows data set. We also sell your converged typical hypervisors. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the Edge today and the benefits that it brings, as well as our rack space, towers, and PC clients. So because my SAN can be sold as an appliance, or it's virtualizable and can be sold as a VM in a hyperconverged structure, then I can sell it. I can create a true two-node cluster where all of my competitors require at least 3 nodes, and if you're vSAN based, you require 4 nodes to do maintenance with. So that's why I can am so much less expensive than a lot of my competitors. But the same technology is used in the hyperconverged as well as in the appliance with backup snapshots capability of sending to the cloud as well as to on-site NAS storage. So these are some of our typical price points. 16 node, this was a system at Baptist Health. They had 2,000 VDI nodes. We came in with a 16 node cluster. We were about $500,000 with NVMe storage. Our closest competitor was Cisco at 1.5 million. Here's a case study for Montgomery Radiology. This was a very nice enterprise customer. They had to pick up the IntelliRad software for compliance reasons. So they found it necessary to expand their existing structure, which was Nfina based. And, you know, they really wanted to explore cloud with this expansion. So the total, it was 11 servers. It was cluster to cluster replication between two campuses. They also had 5 campuses outreach where they had to send backups and snapshots back to the main cluster. They had a total of 11 servers, 440 cores total, 44 Windows VMs, 19 Red Hat Linux VMs, 40 terabyte SSD storage in both data centers. And this is how it turned out. The purchase system outright was $300,000 from Nfina. I think my closest competitor was HP. They're around $500,000. The hardware lease 5-year option was $5,500 a month. And you can say, well, you know, $5,500 a month, that's a very good price. The 5-year contract for Azure to run infrastructure as a service in the cloud was $3.5 million, or $58,200 a month to run redundantly in Azure. We also quoted them a complete turnkey infrastructure as a service. We partnered with AT&T's cloud provider to do that. We can provide the whole, everything from the circuits to the SD-WAN to the 24/7, 365 monitoring for large-scale enterprise capability with the AT&T guys, and, you know, complete turnkey networking, cloud storage, application support, backup, DR managed services. We came in around $2.4 million or $40,000 a month. So we were significantly less than Azure with complete management services on top of it. So this was just the cloud hosting part. So what we were providing to Montgomery Radiology, very high performance, low latency, 5 millisecond on-prem versus 100 millisecond if they ran in the cloud model. And they had more copies of their data because we had 4-way mirroring on-prem and we had 4-way mirroring off-prem. So it was actually 8 copies of the data at all times. Savings, 3.2 million. The savings alone justified the whole IT staff at Montgomery Radiology over the next 5 years. So they were extremely happy about that. And the last statement is something that you're not going to hear from any of the big box vendors, but a fixed size cloud infrastructure is always going to be more expensive than an on-prem hybrid cloud solution. So if I look at how this works, so we've got a HyperEdge or Converged on-prem with the clients attached, and they're running with very low latency. If for some reason the unit goes down, if one unit goes down, it fails over and it keeps right on running. But if both units were to go down, then we take the snapshot that goes to the data center, we clone it, stand it up, and this all happens within minutes. And then now they're running in a cloud model. They don't have to change anything on their client. Same IP addresses. All the VMs that were running on-prem are now running in the cloud, in the private cloud. And they're slower. But then when the on-prem is restored, the snapshots are reversed until it gets back in sync, and then we can restore the system. So all of this is built into our Jovian ZFS-based software today. So we can deliver on-site hardware as a service. We've partnered with Phil Nation to do all the on-site restoration in the event that they need technical support on site. We've got maximum uptime with the 8 copies of the data. The cluster-to-cluster replication over the wide area network is built into our software. It's all encrypted, all transmission on the internet, so nobody can listen in or steal any of your data. And then we can do that whole solution as a turnkey. Here's a much smaller system. Of course, Montgomery Radiology was a large-scale system. Here's a more SMB friendly solution. This one's got 16 cores in each box. It's got 128 gig of RAM in each box. So I think they're running 6 VMs. So it's a fault-tolerant 6 VM solution. It has 7 terabytes of SSD in both units. So it's a pretty sporty device, very fast, using the scalable silver processor. Of course, we can quote gold or platinum if this one wants to run faster. But the purchase price of that complete system was $31,000. It can be leased from Nicholson Capital at $570 a month. $6,800 would be the total monthly cost for complete turnkey infrastructure as a service, including cloud backup and storage and DR and managed services for a 3-year contract. And so, okay, $6,800 a month. Well, let's see how that compares with the other big rack vendors. So AWS with the turnkey managed services to manage the VMs remotely. So you can see the price is very competitive. Competitive to Rackspace, Google, Azure, plus with Nfina, the VMware support is included. So we have the VMware on-prem and VMware off-prem. If your software requires VMware with any of the other cloud vendors, they make you purchase that. So that's a CapEx cost that you need to amortize over 5 years, or you know, whatever your accountant says. But you know, there's a big uplift in price for going with any of the other conventional. So the hybrid cloud actually, if there's a VMware component, actually is much less expensive than any other big box vendors. Plus, the big box vendors are slow, right? Because you're running out of the cloud. There's no on-prem component to reduce your latency. So what we're offering is a high-performance solution with maximum uptime. We call it 6 nines, 99.9999 uptime. So our target market is the mid-size enterprise. We do a lot of, but government is a very fast-growing segment for us because of our value proposition, and it's got to be easy to deploy. That's a CIO hot button, and our GUI has won awards being so easy to deploy. So we can easily set up a demo on the software. If you're interested, Paul and Keith can coordinate that with us, and we can give you the nickel tour. Only takes 20-30 minutes, and you'll see how easy it is for the backup and restore, and how quick it works. So we are partners with Microsoft, VMware, Citrix. We have all these expertise in-house. If you call Nfina for support, you're going to get someone with a master's degree in either computer science or computer engineering, and we're all U.S. based. We speak Southern, being from Alabama, but you know, we don't outsource that. We do all our support in-house with our own engineers. This is a snapshot right off of Microsoft's website at the 2019 launch of Storage Spaces Direct for 2019, and you can see Nfina's included. You know, in some of the presentations, I say, well, Nfina's down here at the bottom, but some of the CIOs in the CIO forums point out, well, you're on a line by yourself. So, but we've been working with Cosmos and the guys at Microsoft with the Storage Spaces Direct for a very long period of time, years now, and so we've done a lot of this Storage Spaces Direct deployment. We've developed all the PowerShell scripts required to deploy that very quickly and efficiently. So today, the snapshots from the cloud and the SAN storage, they go to a private cloud, or they go to a colo facility, off-campus facility, or a NAS device on-prem of your choice. At a future release, we're going to support S3 Baker, so we'll be able to mirror the content if you wish to have data running in Amazon, Azure, or Google's public cloud. Now I'm going to finish up with the trends in the market. So one of the major trends that we see, and Gartner sees this and IDC sees this as well, who are two of the biggest marketing firms in our industry, that the buyers are moving away from the big box vendor, and that's primarily, this disruption is happening because of better support, better warranty, and lower cost of ownership. So, you know, I'll point out this slide to you. This is the worldwide enterprise server market sales. And a lot of, when I ask the question, what jumps out at this slide, and the response is other. Other, I didn't realize other was so large. And the other is actually bigger than any of the two name brands that come to mind, HP and Dell, put together. So this is also the fastest growing segment. They had 41% market share last year. So this is rapidly growing. And if I were to show you this slide 12 years ago, just 12 years ago, it'd be 30, 30, 30, IBM, Dell, and HP. Now IBM sold the business to Lenovo, and then Cisco has a very small portion of the server market. And given that only 10% of the customers have moved to the cloud, and this is data from IDC and Gartner both, then this is really, really happening. And I'll give you the cliff notes. Gartner's written a couple of papers on this, white papers on why this disruption is happening. And I'll give you the cliff notes real quick. But the same exact thing is happening in the hyperconverged space and in the storage market. So smaller vendors that are quicker, more responsive. Hardware is quickly becoming a commodity item. So why should anybody pay more than they have to, especially if they're getting fantastic support? So let's look at a total cost of ownership for a server. So this is a simple server. I've got 1U rack, 16 core, 64 gig of RAM. So this is a good Exchange server or DNS server. Maybe a little overkill, but it's a nice server. So our price for that, something like that, is going to be about $6,500 from Nfina. Dell is typically within a couple $100 of us. I think they were $7,000 on this config, and HP is a little more sometimes. Sometimes less, but usually they're more, $10,000 or so. Now, what's interesting is all of these servers come, and even their new models are coming with a 2-year warranty standard, which I find amazing. But you can change it in the support column. But typically they have shipped with a 3-year warranty. And so Gartner, according to Gartner, 85% of the mid-market customers, they just take the standard warranty and they upgrade after the warranty expires. So if you want a 5-year warranty, you can either buy Nfina, or you can uplift these two curves from Dell and HP, or you can do it as the warranty is fixing to expire, and then you'll really uplift these two curves. So you'll waste a lot of money if you do it here. But anyway, so if I look at after 5 years, you upgrade Nfina. So if I look at it year 8, you've invested 14 grand in that server from Nfina, 24 grand in the server from Dell, and over 30 grand from HP. So the hyperconverged space becomes even more interesting. So this is a much beefier server, 1U rack, 24 core, 192 gig of RAM, running Windows Server. So I can stand up a lot of VMs on this machine. So I didn't include it here, but just for the sake of argument. So $11,000 from Nfina, maybe $12,000 from Dell, and you're up around $25,000 from either Nutanix or HP, and $35,000 from Cisco. Then after the 2 refreshes that occur sometime between year 3 and 4 and 6 and 7, if I look at it year 8, you've invested 24 grand in the single server hypervisor from Nfina. You've invested 44 grand in Dell, and almost 70 grand in either Nutanix or HP, and over 100 grand in Cisco. Now, you cannot build a hyperconverged solution or a converged solution with only a single hyperconverged node. You got to have at least 2 or 3 nodes, 2 with Nfina, 3 or 4 with the other vendors. So let's just assume we got 3 to compare apples and apples. So if I take the middle of the road guys here, HP and Nutanix, the delta between those guys, 75, and we'll call that 25. That's 50 grand times 3. You're looking at 150 grand. So Gartner and IDC said you'll pay 10% more for the name brand, but you shouldn't pay 2x or 3x, which is what a lot of people are doing when they buy the big box vendor. SAN storage. So here's a 46 terabyte SAN, usable. It's got a 1.6 terabytes of SSD read cache and write cache. It's got 10 gig iSCSI ports on it. So my price for something like that is going to be around 96 grand. The other vendors, HP, NetApp, Dell, they're going to be between 80 to 100 grand, and IBM's going to be up around 180 grand for that solution. 20 years ago, IBM practically owned the storage space, and now they didn't even show up as an entity, and they fall into the other category, and this is why. The product marketing has elasticity, and price does matter. So after 2 refreshes, you've invested 96 grand in Nfina. You've invested between 200 and 300 grand in the competitors, and over 600 grand in IBM. So this is why they have single-digit market share now. Nobody can afford it. Nobody's willing to pay 6x what they can pay from Nfina, or 3x what they can pay from the other name brand vendors. So here's a head-to-head comparison between Nfina and EMC Unity 300. We use 12 gig drives. They're using 3-year nearline drives. Warranties 5 versus 3. Same exact usable storage, same exact cache size. And I can sit here and tell you that the Nfina is faster. I turn in more IOPS than the EMC unit does. And you can see they're almost 3 times the price. So you can buy 3 of the Nfinas for what you pay for one of the EMC, and this doesn't include their support contract. This is just the hardware. So the idea here is you can reduce your risk with Nfina. So it allows you, for 33% lower cost than the big box vendor, you can buy 2 SANs, have cluster-to-cluster replication, 8 copies of your data on-prem, and still save 33% money. And if a SAN goes out, then you can stand up this other SAN within minutes and have virtually zero downtime. Whereas if this SAN goes out from the big box vendor, you could be down for days until they get that restored, if they can restore it. So you've got a lot more redundancy with Nfina, and with redundancy, you reduce risk. That's really what I had. And I think Haley mentioned that the questions would be written in a chat room somewhere. Let's see.
Yep, if somebody had questions along the way, they can certainly put it in the chat, but otherwise this is a good time if anybody has any questions. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll open up the floor to questions.
Paul, you're muted again.
I love being muted.
Okay.
No, it was great information, Warren. I've seen this before, and it still holds true that total cost of ownership matters, and companies are looking more at, the long-term usage of the lifespan of their equipment.
There's a question from somebody. They want to know, how do you compare with StarWind Virtual SAN in terms of features, pricing, and stability?
Well, from a stability standpoint, there's no comparison. Our appliance, the SAN appliance, if you will, is ZFS based. So being ZFS based, if you're familiar with that technology, it was created at Sun Microsystems, and then it was acquired by Oracle in the Sun acquisition years back, and it's now in the public domain. But ZFS is a copy on write technology. And why that's important is that with the built-in snapshot capability of ZFS, then you have, you can run backups during production, because every write to a ZFS system, they do conventional file systems. When you do a write, do a read, modify, write. And with the ZFS operating system, it does a read, modify, create new block. So because the new block now has a new reference pointer pointed to it, when it comes time to do a snapshot, it's real easy to collect those blocks and transmit them to the backup unit as a snapshot and then bolt it onto the block tree. So because of that, it becomes real easy to run backups 24/7, 365. I have many customers running backup snapshots every 5 minutes, 24/7, 365. And if they ever get hit by ransomware, it becomes very easy for Crypto Locker to roll back to a snapshot before that event occurred and then restore all their VMs and files and storage that were corrupted. So that technology is unique to the ZFS, that snapshotting capability. I think NetApp has something similar, but of course, you know, at a much bigger price tag. With Nfina, we support multiple forms of storage. We support the iSCSI block storage. We support NFS. We support SMB CIFS, very efficient, and end users can even restore their own files and folders based on the snapshots from their own user menu. And we also support Fiber Channel. So we support all the major ways that storage is communicated with in the industry. So you know, I think we're, from that standpoint, it's much more efficient, and it's more feature rich than the StarWind solution.
Yeah, and I'll go one more further on the StarWind solution because of how they set up their replication. The replication we found breaks very often. So, you know, that with the Nfina technology, you know, your total cost of ownership drops because you're not constantly going in there tinkering, making sure your replication is working.
Ken, did that answer your question? Did that help answer your question, or do you still want to know how they're protected? Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, we can definitely jump into doing the drawing for the winner. It's a $100 gift card. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Give me 1 second. I'll share my screen. Okay, one more tab here. Okay.
Wheel of Fortune. Raj.
Awesome. Looks like Raj is our winner. That's all I have. Paul, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, of course. Warren, it's always great to see you and hear from you. And, you know, the total cost of ownership really, people really need to look at. I just wrote up a quick article on why VMware is a better value than Hyper-V. So we should get that, your information posted along with that. But,
Sure, it's great. Also, I want to make you guys aware that Paul and all of the Nfina resellers have access to an artificial intelligence-based configurator, and they can quote SAN and hyperconverged solutions same day. You know, you don't have to wait 2 or 3 weeks or to get your quote. So we can quote these solutions really fast because we've got this. We spent a lot of time, the engineers did, on the configurator, and we can turn quotes basically in the same day. You know, if we know how much storage in your network and speeds and feeds, and we really pride ourselves in that. We get the quotes out really quick. And our availability is really good during COVID. So all our supply chain is still up and running and delivering. You know, I didn't mention it. I'm kind of humble about this, but Nfina's been growing by about 400% per year since we started in 2012. So we're growing really fast, and you may not have heard of us before, but that's going to change over the next few years.
Yeah, thank you, Warren. One of the big things about Nfina is the security aspect. I don't think Warren hit on that hard enough. I mean, they source all their own hardware. It's not a super micro rebrand. It is Nfina hardware. So there is no microchips planted on the system. There is no hidden code. So, I mean, they won many awards and many contracts because of security. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming.
All right. Bye-bye.